Some of the investors I speak to are completely remote from their actual property investment. Others are actually overseas and they never even go into the properties in which they invest. Yet some of these are some of the most successful property investors out there. In this video I'm going to let you know how you can invest remotely in the UK at the comfort of your own home. Hey everybody, my name is Jason Davies. If you're new to the channel, just a favour, subscribe. In this video I'm going to cover how you invest in property in a remote way, and this is becoming more popular and actually the normal ways of working. But more importantly, stick around at the end of this video because I'm going to take you through the whole end-to-end process of actually investing in property, refurbishing the property, and actually making sure you're getting constant returns and cash flow throughout the whole process. So first of all, why would you want to buy and invest in property remotely? Well, first of all, as I said, it's a standardised approach these days, and a lot of estate agents, letting agents are being built around being able to do that. And actually, I've seen some investors invest in multi-million-pound houses and did this completely remotely. Didn't do one single viewing because you can literally do all of this remotely. And there's so many advantages of doing that. I can let you know myself, I'm based in the south, and we invest in the north. Liverpool specifically, and we know that that's the best approach. Now, why can investing in property remotely really work out? The first reason is you really want to differentiate yourself from being a landlord and an investor. You need to be an investor. You need to be this side and not this side, because if you're a landlord, you get sucked in to the day-to-day issues that a landlord has, you know, on tenants and refurbishment, maintenance costs, etc. And that really takes your attention away from actually building your portfolio and actually concentrating on the numbers and the returns on investment, and understand where's your next point of investment. And this is sometimes I see all the time the biggest issue. A lot of people get put off because they've been a landlord. It's very stressful, it's like a full-time job, and quite frankly they don't want that in their lives. Not to mention we're all busy, and this is supposed to be a passive income process. So just by actually not investing somewhere that's very close to where you live can be great, because it forces you, it's a mentality thing, it forces you to make sure that you don't go there all the time and keep chasing problems and being reactive all the time. In fact, you outsource the problem to a reputable management company. So remember, there's a difference between active income and passive income, and when you're placing an investment for the future, really, this is passive. It's completely passive, and you want it to be as hands-free as possible. So one way of doing that is forcing yourself not to be anywhere near your investment. You know it's a smart investment, but you're not near it. You're hundreds and hundreds of miles away from it. It forces it, from a mindset perspective, to not get too involved, trust in your outsourced processes, and leave it be. The next reason is, and this is probably the obvious one, but obviously across the UK, different areas have different investment opportunities, and some of them have different types of returns. So of course, as an investor, it depends what you're looking for. But you know, certainly if you're a first-time investor, and I imagine some of you watching this, maybe you are, that you know, places investing in London is probably not going to be an easy option. Let's say you've saved up £100,000, which is amazing, by the way. If you've done that, and I've done it before, it's very, very, very difficult and hard. So well done. But if you've done that, you don't want it to sit in the bank, right? Because if it sits in the bank, you're going to start losing money all the time. And it's not working hard for you, right? So, you've got that £100,000, where do you invest? Well, you could invest in London, but what's that going to get you? Very little. Maybe a shed, if you're lucky, right? But if you invest in somewhere in the north, say Liverpool, that would get you as a minimum of at least 2 investment properties. So even if you've got only a 50k, you could definitely for sure take into account all the costs, invest in property right now in a smart way. So obviously, depending on where you're based, investing remotely can be a great way to get to the best investment opportunities within the UK. Some areas of the UK have got great rental yields, some of them have got great returns on capital employed, some of them have got great cash flow. So if I'm thinking of London, I wouldn't be buying a property in London really for the cash flow, because of the ratio between the purchase price and the rents that you're going to receive. But if you go somewhere like Liverpool or Leeds or Sunderland, the North East, you're going to get great returns. And so that's why it's so different in terms of what do you want. But by investing remotely, you can do that, carry on with your job, and then invest in the great places and have your money working hard for you. The next reason is, and I've just alluded to this before, if you're anything like me, right? If you're anything like me, you don't want to get too active in this, right? You've got enough to do, right? It depends on how old you are. Maybe you've got children, maybe you've got pets, you've got a full-time job. You may be in a stressful position, and you're glad at that because you've been able to save all this money. Now you really want the money working for you, so that at some point maybe you can do a little bit less. So you haven't got the time to be that involved and do all the viewings. In the second video, I'm going to let you know the whole process, and you'll see why it is actually a very difficult process. And for most people, they just don't have always the knowledge. They don't have the headspace and certainly the time to do it. So by doing it remotely, you have that managed by somebody else. The next major reason, if you're watching this and you are overseas, is that you can invest in the UK even if you're not based in the UK. You can invest from overseas. And actually, we've worked with a recent investor who's Australian, and he's looking to build a property portfolio here in the UK. And it's certainly possible. And actually, it's really to a credit because we know some overseas investors who don't do one single viewing because they're not based in the country, and they've got massive, sizable and successful property portfolios. So again, if that doesn't prove you can't do it remotely, what else can? So, how do you go about doing this? Maybe you've got the money, you want to get started and get onto that journey. So I'm going to go through the end-to-end process, and hopefully this will be great value for you guys. So the first step is about the scope, your criteria. This needs working out, and a lot of property investors don't do this. It's shocking, I still can't believe it, but they don't actually look. They have no idea of the type of property, the location. They just go out there, they see something on Rightmove or Zoopla, they think it's going to be great without really doing any review on understanding on what rental yields are going to get, what return on capital employed. They don't understand the hidden costs. None of that's taken into account, and unfortunately they don't get what they expect. So make sure you look at your criteria. So you can start off by thinking about what's the location you're going to go for, understand what's the rental yield for that, what's the capital appreciation of the area, what's the return on capital employed. All of this needs to be researched. What's your location? Squeeze it down to certain postcodes, be specific, okay? You can go on Google My Maps and you can map that out. Is it a regenerated area? What does it look like? What does the area look like in 5-10 years time? So that's the first step. Then obviously go on to some of the top property portals, Rightmove, Zoopla, on the market, and start looking at your typical properties and start putting in your filter of the types of properties in the area, so you can start getting listings, automatic listings of properties coming in on a day-to-day basis. By the way, searching on the property portals is not the only way. I do recommend you also combine that with offline direct-to-vendor marketing. That's really important and also the biggest probably chance you're going to get below market value properties. The next part, as I said, once you shortlist your type of properties, understand, does that meet your criteria when it comes to return of capital employed? Now, when we help our investors, we make sure we have a minimum criteria that we consider, and if it doesn't fit that criteria, in the track model, they've got a separate video on that. If you're interested, check it out. But if it doesn't fit the criteria, then we go on and we move on to keep searching for those properties. So the next step is, obviously, you need to do some viewings on this because remote or not, you need to make sure that you understand that the interior condition, and that also gives you some understanding on what the type of refurbs that might be required at a later date. So, as I said, you can do this entirely remotely. Most estate agents, as I said, you want to look around your area in terms of finding the best ones as well, but most estate agents will certainly do virtual viewings, photographs, etc., and videos, 360 videos for you on your behalf. If not, the technology is out there. You can make some payments on some software and you can get that done as well. So that's really important, and once you do that, you then submit your offer subject to viewings. Now previously estate agents weren't really keen on doing this, but this is more common practice now. And ultimately, you can get on the phone to your estate agents, understand, look, this is the situation, I want to do this remotely, I don't want to come up for no real reason. And you say to the estate agents, look, this is where my price is going to be, So is it worth viewing or not? And then they'll say yes or no. It just saves a lot of time, okay? And again, make sure it gets within your criteria. Now, it's important you get an understanding of how to value the property. And you want to make sure that you have also a really important trades team nearby in your area that you built up relationships with. And I know that takes some time, but once you've done that, then you can get builders to come into the property, have a look, and get an understanding of the price and also everything else in terms of valuation. This can be a great way of doing it. Now, you may have to pay a small cost associated with the builder's travelling, etc. But it's really important. And then once you've got that back, you can then understand the price, the tenant type, the likely rents that you're going to get back, and then you can submit your final offer. So once your offer is accepted, then really you're then going to go straight into the process of, depending on whether you're buying by cash, you're going to get a RIC survey to make sure there's no underlying issues with the property, or if you're going via a mortgage broker, they will get a house surveyor to also do that process. In the meantime, then you can also go and start searching for reputable and also building relationships with a reputable letting agent. Now, with the letting agents, it's really important you get a reputable one. You need to search around in the area you want to invest in terms of ones that have done this for years, have got great reviews from other property investors. You can do this on Facebook groups and reach out to find and search for that. It's worth the due diligence. Otherwise, you're going to have issues later down the line. Then, obviously, it's about getting the builders in as part of the refurbishment process, understanding what that looks like, and then working with the letting agency so that when the keys are handed over and everything's completed, it's ready for the tenants to go in. So once you've got your letting agent, it's then the process of then completing it and handing it over to the builder, and then they will complete the refurbishment. The builder will then liaise with the letting agent and of course get it refurbished, and then of course let it out on your behalf, so you can do it completely remotely. That being said, as part of the refurbishment now, you really need to make sure that you are auditing and managing the process to check that things are up to schedule. So it's really important as a remote investor that you set up a schedule of work so you're very clear in terms of the refurbishment, what is expected week by week. Then you can download an app called Site Audit Pro. Then the builders can then send photos in conjunction with that schedule to see have they delivered what they need to based on the quality, etc. Now, is it in line with the end completion time? And of course, you would do your due diligence and retain 5% of the builder's pay to make sure that it gets a snagging list from the letting agents so that everything is sorted, ready for the tenants to move in. Again, it doesn't have to involve you at all, really. It can be managed completely remotely. After all of that, you're probably thinking, do you know what? It's so much stress, even remotely. There's a lot of work, and I'm not going to lie, it is. There's lots of cogs going along, lots of different people to talk to, and it's a lot to take in and manage, especially if it's your first time. But it's entirely possible, and of course, as you become better and better at this, it will become easier and easier. And as you build the relationships, you build your power team, you understand your building team, you've got a reputable letting agent, you've got your estate agents, then it will become a lot easier. The truth is though, some of us are just still too busy, and it's far from passive than we would like it. And that is why, really, some of you might be thinking, yeah, I could do this myself. Or some of you might be thinking, look, I don't have time, can't I find someone else to do it for me? And in fact, if you didn't know, this is what we do at Lighthouse Investments Group. We help people and do this hands-free. So as an investor, you can completely not worry about the whole process. The whole service is carried out for you. From the very point of sourcing the property, the right property, everything I said under the criteria that gets you the return, and hopefully is below market value as well. So you're already starting off great. All the way through to mortgage brokers, to the solicitors, to the refurbishments, the project management, the letting agents, the management process, the whole piece. And all we need from you is probably a few documents, etc. Throughout the process, and really just letting you know how it's all going on. So that's what we do. We do that end-to-end hands-free service. So if that sounds like you, and you have 50 or 100k to invest right now, you're just not sure how to get started, you don't have the time to go through that process that I spoke about, then reach out to us today. As I said, we focus property investments in the best areas of the UK, primarily Liverpool. And if you're interested, type in the comment box LHG and one of our team members will come back to you with a call, and we can start discussing the strategy and start discussing what you want to do and how you want to build your property investment portfolio so you have your money working hard for you. But guys, if you are going to do this on your own, then I hope this video is of some value, and check out some of our other videos. We talk about the return of capital employed if you wasn't sure on that. We talk about the track model in terms of finding your best area, if maybe that's not something you're sure about, even if you're doing it remotely at the moment. And do us a complete favour, a gentle reminder, if you could smash that subscribe button and the like button, click the notification bell. We want to help you, especially if you're a first time investor, to have your money working hard for you ultimately. So please check out the next videos when they come, and I hope this has been useful. Speak to you again soon.